Welcome back to my channel, everyone. And we are addressing this week negative thought patterns as we look at healing trauma from the Bible. And today I'm going to talk about a negative thought pattern that might be so subtle that you've not realized that you're doing it. Of course, negative thought patterns sometimes have their root in trauma. The things that we have experienced teach us things about ourselves, tell us things about the world, and the world also feed things back to us about ourselves. And so, those create negative thought patterns. Sometimes the negative thought patterns comes from things we hear about ourselves, the things people told us, like teachers and parents and caregivers, the things they say about ourselves. Sometimes the negative thought patterns came from the playground, the things that we heard about ourselves, the things that, children can sometimes, I say children can sometimes be mean, the things we say to each other when we were young. And we don't understand, and we don't understand the impact of the things that we're saying to each other. But sometimes negative thought patterns comes from those places. So if you've identified, as you've followed us throughout this week, if you've identified negative thought patterns in your life and you are beating yourself up and you have been wanting to get rid of it and it's sticking around and it's not staying, just keep watching these videos, go pray through the scriptures that I've shared and look at the root. You may need to address some roots because I believe that negative thought pattern is a fruit of a root. Where did it come from? Certain trauma tells us things about ourselves, tells us things about our self-worth and our value. Society sometimes tells us things about ourselves. And so we have to be able to address the root, find out where it comes from, tackle the root, and the fruit of negative thought patterns sometimes will also take care of itself. But if you're here, if you're tackling the root, if you understand where it comes from, if you know why you think about yourself the way you think about yourself, if you know why you think about the world the way you think about the world, that's wonderful. So you are a few steps ahead. But if you don't, these videos still will be able to help you to tackle those important things that are holding you back, because negative thought patterns hold you back. It holds you back in your career. It holds back your relationships. It stops you from going into relationships. It stops you from putting yourself forward for the interview. It stops you from applying for the job. For example, when we minimize our accomplishments, it stops us from applying for the job that we know that we're fully capable of doing. We know that we are efficient. We know that we do what we do very well. But because the negative thought pattern of minimizing our accomplishments, it stops us from going ahead and doing great things. And as Christians, I'm talking to us as Christians that sometimes minimizing almost seems virtuous. It seems like it could almost be mistaken for humility. Like, I'm so humble that I just got a promotion at work and I'm not going to talk about it. But really, I'm just minimizing my accomplishments because it wouldn't be out of tune if I share my accomplishments in a setting where people are saying, what did you achieve today? Do you have any wins? Is there anything that you want to share? Or you wouldn't be boastful if you're sharing it with a friend who really care about you and really want to hear. If you've had to work hard for that accomplishment and you finally achieved the thing that you accomplished, it wouldn't be out of step or not humble enough to say, I worked really hard for this and I got it and I'm so grateful. And I suppose that's where social media serves some purpose, because sometimes when we share it on there, perfect strangers who don't know us will congratulate us and give words of encouragement. But in the same token, the same people sometimes can be really mean and say things that are harmful. But whatever people say, whatever anybody else say, it sometimes it comes right back to us. Like, how do you feel about yourself? Do you minimize your accomplishments even to yourself? When God has blessed you, when you have used the gifts and the talents that He's given you, and you have used them really well, do you minimize it? Or do you brush it aside when somebody gives you a compliment and say, that was so amazing? What do you say? Do you hold it? Do you sit with it? Sometimes holding it and sitting with it might be very uncomfortable because you might not be used to praise. You might not be used to congratulations. As I speak, one of the things I used to say, people say, that was so amazing, Joanna. That was really good for me. I learned this and I learned this. And, you made all these connections for me. And I would say, to God be the glory. Because I didn't know what else to say, but now I've trained myself to say thank you. I am not taking the praise that belongs to God. The praise belongs to Him. But He has gifted me with a gift that I'm using to give Him glory. And so when somebody give a compliment, I say thank you. I say thank you. And in places where it's appropriate, I say to God be the glory, because He has blessed me. He has blessed me with the gift. He has blessed you with the gift. He has blessed you with the talent. He's blessed you with the courage and the resilience. And He's blessed you with the ability to endure and to go through the things that you've gone through to achieve the thing that you've achieved. And He doesn't want you to minimize it. Minimizing our accomplishment does not give Him glory. When we have done something that is amazing, that He is getting the glory for, and you are doing things and you're using your gift, you're using your talents, and you are maxing out your capacity, and people are being blessed, people are being served and served in a deep way by your gift, and you minimized it, He doesn't get the glory. When we minimize, that's about us. That's about our fears. That's about our low self-esteem. That's about our self-worth that needs work. That's about our own inner critic. And we talked about inner critic before. That's our own inner critic telling us things about ourselves, and we're believing it. We're believing negative thoughts about ourselves. And so we minimize the accomplishments that we have when we need to celebrate our accomplishments. So what I want you to do is not minimize, sit with the feeling, the joyful feeling of, I did this. I was empowered with the gifts and I used my gifts. I didn't bury my talent. I used my talent. I didn't bury it. I use it, I increase on it, and I'm presenting 5 more to God because I used it. Kind of like if you have the gift of singing, but you're shy and your inner critic is telling you, well, you can't sing as well as that person, so no point trying. But you have moved through and you've worked through that and you have silenced that and you've gone ahead and used your gift. And it's saying, and you've used your gift and it's blessed others, and it's your ministry is drawing people closer to Christ, and your ministry setting people free, then you celebrate that. You never minimize it because you're using something that God has given you to bless the world with. Remembering that negative thought patterns have a root. And as long as you are being honest with and addressing the root, and you're not bypassing it and you're not ignoring it, you're addressing, where did these come from? Why do I think the way I think about myself? I think this about myself because these are the reasons why. These are the things that have happened to me in my life that has influenced these thoughts about myself. I've always compared myself with others, and therefore I minimize my accomplishments because it doesn't seem as big as the accomplishments of somebody else. And it's never going to be seen that way until you start to see that way. So today, believe what He says about you. God has given you gifts and talents. He has blessed you with them and you are using them. Don't minimize them. Don't minimize the accomplishment. Don't minimize the things that you've done. Celebrate them. Give God the glory for them because you're using the gifts that He has given you to bless others. And as you don't minimize it, it's also working the other way and it's blessing you. And you'll continue to be a blessing to the world.